This is True Girl, a podcast for girls and their moms. I'm Claire Black, and together we'll explore God's truth for us one drive at a time. Buckle up. You're about to grow close to each other and closer to Jesus. Okay, when I was little, I used to think roller coasters were really cool and they sounded super fun. Right up until the moment I was actually strapped into one. Suddenly, I'd start thinking things like, what if this thing gets stuck upside down? What if I pass out? What if I totally regret this? Sometimes anxiety feels exactly like that. Your thoughts start racing, your stomach twists, and before you know it, your brain has taken you on a ride you never even wanted to go on. Maybe you felt anxious about school, friendship, sports, family stuff, what people think about you, or even things you can't explain. If you've ever felt that way, you're definitely not alone. The good news is that God cares about anxious hearts. And this season, Dannah, Gresh, and Suzy Weibel are exploring what the Bible says about worry, fear, and learning to trust Jesus when your thoughts feel out of control. Last week, they said that anxiety can feel like a roller coaster ride you didn't mean to get on. But you're actually in control of which ride you choose. Today, they're still exploring the amusement park and discovering that sometimes the loudest rides happen inside our minds. Get ready for episode 2 of season 28, Who Handed Worry a Microphone? Here's Suzy.
Okay, I have officially found my favorite part of the theme park.
The giant slides?
No, this giant soft pretzel.
Oh, of course. Of all my friends, Suzy, you have been a foodie as long as I've known you.
Yep. Actually, I think theme parks are basically just snacks with roller coasters attached.
The true theme park experience, carbs and fear.
You know what's funny?
What?
Nobody walks off a roller coaster saying, well, that was a calm and emotionally regulated experience.
Oh, very true.
Your heart's racing, your stomach's flipping, your brain feels scrambled.
And honestly, that's kind of what anxiety feels like sometimes.
Exactly. And sometimes the hardest part isn't even what's happening around us, it's what's happening inside our heads.
Oh, yes, the thoughts.
And you know what's interesting?
What?
You can recognize your friends' voices instantly, right?
Okay, absolutely. Like, if my phone rings and I hear your voice, I know it's you immediately.
Exactly. Or if your mom calls your name, like from across a crowded room, you know her voice without even looking.
Mm-hmm, very true.
And I think anxious thoughts can be like that too. Like, the more you listen to certain voices in your mind, the easier they are to recognize.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
Like sometimes anxiety has a very specific voice.
Oh, no. You're about to do voices, aren't you?
I absolutely am.
Okay, this is going to be good.
Okay. So let's say you walk away from an awkward conversation at school, and suddenly, oh no, everyone definitely noticed how weird you sounded.
Okay. Yep. Been there, done that.
I think everyone's heard that one. And then another voice jumps in. And now they're probably texting each other about it. And then the really dramatic one shows up. And you will never recover socially.
Okay, wow. Well, that escalated quickly.
Well, that's how anxious thoughts work sometimes. It's like one worried thought hands a microphone to another worried thought, and suddenly everybody's talking all at once.
Oh my, that is such a good description. One tiny thought suddenly turns into this giant story in your head. And honestly, I've experienced that a lot of times in my own life, where one tiny thought just turns into a giant spiral in my head.
Oh, yes.
And you replay that conversation, or you start worrying about something that hasn't even happened yet, and before you know it, your thoughts feel completely out of control. You know, I remember when I first started publicly talking about Jesus and everything he'd done in my life, I knew God was leading me to write my first book. I knew God was leading me to tell my freedom story about how Jesus revived my heart, but I never knew. I never imagined I was going to have to speak publicly if I was an author. And then this friend told me, hey, people are going to invite you to speak after they read your book, and you're going to have to say yes, because that will help more people hear about your book. And I remember saying to that friend, I will never speak in front of a live audience, ever.
Really? Well, that kind of surprises me because you do it all the time at True Girl events.
Well, I know, but at first it was more than a bad case of stage fright, Suzy. Every time I spoke, I heard this anxious voice in my head. That wasn't very good. You're not a good speaker, you know. People are going to think you're so strange for how you got up there and talked about Jesus. I mean, it was so bad, I would have to pray and pray after a speech. I felt really foolish for the way I would say things up there, or for forgetting to say things I would remember after I spoke. And well, it was such a bad feeling, Suzy, I could hardly sleep at night because it seemed like the anxious thoughts, they just got louder and louder when there was nothing else to distract me at night.
Oh, that is such a relatable feeling, especially the night part.
Yeah. And why do anxious thoughts always feel louder at bedtime?
Well, because apparently nighttime turns our brains into dramatic storytellers.
Yes, seriously, though. I think all of us know exactly what that can feel like. And after a while, well, if we're not careful, those thoughts, well, they kind of start sounding true. I mean, I started to believe I was a really bad speaker, and I'm not the world's best, but I was actually beginning to believe it'd be better for Jesus if you just didn't say anything at all.
Wow. Well, that's a perfect example of how not every thought we think is actually true. Because, Dannah, you're a very good teacher. That reminds me of a verse. Let me grab my Wonder app. I did not bring my Bible to the theme park.
Understandable.
I know. I didn't want it to fall out of my pocket when we eventually go upside down on that roller coaster.
Okay, I see what you did there.
Okay, here it is. 2 Corinthians 10:5 tells us what to do when anxiety gets loud in our heads. We take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ.
Oh, I love that verse. And it reminds me that I do have the choice to determine which thoughts are beneficial to me. I don't have to be trapped, letting just all of the thoughts run wild in my mind.
Exactly. We can stop and ask, is this thought actually true?
That's precisely what I had to do when I started feeling insecure about my teaching ability. And I found a Bible verse that helped me take control of my fear and anxiety.
Oh, which one?
2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was a perfect one for me when I felt insecure about speaking about Jesus, because the Apostle Paul wrote it to Timothy. Now, Timothy was a younger pastor facing opposition and false teachers, and, well, he probably had fear or discouragement about standing boldly for Jesus, don't you think? And maybe he even had anxious thoughts about it.
Sounds just like you.
Yeah, well, Paul tells Timothy to fan into flame the gift of God, or in other words, remember, this calling to teach is a gift from God. Don't let it die like a fire that's turning into embers. Fan it. Just like you do a campfire. When the marshmallow roasting is about to end, you fan it and the embers fire back up. Well, that's what we're supposed to do when we feel anxious and fearful, especially when it comes to talking about Jesus. And then after that was my verse. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline.
Wow. So that verse actually contrasts the fear with the much greater things that we get from God's Spirit. Power, love, self-discipline.
Right. I would pray that Bible verse every time anxious thoughts about speaking came into my head. God, I know you don't give me fear like this. Fill me with your power, your love, and give me the self-discipline to not let the anxious thoughts be in control.
Hey, you know what you did? You took the microphone out of anxiety's hands.
Exactly. I don't think Jesus wants us to be anxious.
Oh, I know he doesn't. Jesus once told Martha, who was worried and anxious about a lot of things, hey, don't be anxious. Look at your sister Mary. She has chosen something better.
In other words, I don't want these loop-de-loop thoughts bothering you. Jesus cared about that.
Yeah, he didn't say, Martha, you're ridiculous, right? He said, friend, you can choose something better.
Yeah, he was gently showing her that her thoughts had pulled her away from his peace.
And from spending time with him, the Prince of Peace.
Yeah, I think that happens to us too. Sometimes our thoughts get so loud that we stop paying attention to what is true and what's important.
Which is why we have to learn to recognize the voices we're listening to.
Exactly. Not every voice deserves a microphone.
Whoa, that is good.
If a thought is constantly leading you toward fear, panic, shame, or hopelessness, that's not the voice of Jesus.
Because Jesus leads us towards him, not away.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean we ignore problems, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean we pretend hard things aren't real.
Right. But it does mean we stop letting anxious thoughts boss us around.
And we bring those thoughts to Jesus.
So maybe this week, whenever an anxious thought shows up, pause and ask, is this thought true? What does the Bible say about this?
And if the answer is no, maybe that thought doesn't deserve the microphone after all.
You know,
What?
I think my inner voice is telling me I might need another soft pretzel.
You know what? I think mine is too.
Oh, wait, another message incoming.
Oh no.
Suzy, one pretzel is enough.
Very reasonable.
But wait,
But what if we never find soft pretzels again, precious?
Oh no, I think you're probably okay on that one, Suzy. Do not listen to that anxious voice.
in a world where mustard packs are limited.
True girl, not every thought deserves a microphone. Sometimes anxious thoughts sound loud and convincing, but that doesn't mean they're true or deserve to take up space. You've got to take every thought captive and let Jesus be in charge of your thoughts. He doesn't want you to suffer from anxiety. This week, when worried thoughts start swirling around in your mind, stop and ask yourself, does this thought sound like Jesus? If not, invite Jesus to take it captive and to control it. And if you aren't sure, get into your Bible and find out. If you need help taking your thoughts captive, you'll like the Peace Box we're shipping right now to our subscription box members. It's based on Dannah's best-selling book, Lies Girls Believe and the Truth That Sets Them Free. It includes a poster that helps you learn the process of identifying lies in your mind and replacing them with God's truth, kind of like what Dannah did when she felt insecure about teaching. The box also has daily devos on how to control your thoughts, a mom-daughter activity, and some great summer fun. We'll ship that box until the end of July, or while supplies last. And 60 days later, we'll send another. And then, you get it, every 60 days, we ship discipleship tools to your front door. Every box is filled with special ways to help you grow closer to Jesus and closer to your mom. Learn more at mytruegirl.com. And the Wonder app Dannah read from today? That's our Bible study tool for teen girls. Check it out on the App Store. Next week, Dannah and Suzy are getting a behind-the-scenes look at how the park rides are controlled and what prayer has to do with anxious thoughts. The True Girl podcast is produced by Revive Our Hearts, calling women of all ages to freedom, fullness, and fruitfulness in Christ.